Hello everybody, my name is ParkerDeVenney. I am a young, aspiring dungeon master here to talk to you about my favorite game ever, Dungeons & Dragons. A while back, the publishing company known as Absolute Tabletop, they have a YouTube channel called Tabletop Terrors, I'll try to leave a link to their channel in the description, did this thing called My 30-Day World, where essentially in 30 days, we all talk about our campaign setting and tell you some interesting facts about it. The idea is every day you say something new about your campaign setting and elaborate on that, but I don't want to make 30 videos every day because that's tiring, so I'm going to split this up into 3 parts. The first 10 facts are going to be in this video, then I'm going to do a part 2 later, that's going to have the next 10 facts, and then I'm going to have a third part way later telling you about the last 10 facts. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so my campaign setting is called Revania, and it is my first and only campaign setting. When I was little, I made a whole bunch of fantasy worlds for a bunch of different things. I made one that was just full of superheroes and all that stuff. So I've essentially been doing Dungeon Master stuff since I was a little kid, even though I've only been playing Dungeons and Dragons for about a year and a half. But anyway, on to the first question. The first question is, what is the 30-second elevator pitch for your campaign setting? So if I had to describe what my campaign setting is in 30 seconds, it would be something like this. Revania is a dark, mystical realm that's locked in this cosmological cycle known as the Aligning, which people theorize is the Great Wheel cosmology sort of twisting and rotating like a circle and aligning with the material plane, which opens planes to other planes of existence. Like, let's say it rotates this way and suddenly there's a giant portal to the Shadowfell in the middle of a grass field somewhere. But basically what happens is things leak out from this world and sort of change how the world works. Alright, that was 30 seconds. I still have other things to share about it, like mana surges, which are pretty cool, which I will talk about at some point later. But yeah, those are pretty dope and sort of what the Aligning has done to my campaign setting. Alright, what is the name of my campaign setting and why is it called this? Obviously, I already said it's called Revania, and it is called that because the all-god who created everything, whose name that I know, but you guys don't, and you guys probably won't unless you play my games, he sort of named it, and it's celestial for something, and nobody knows what it means. That's sort of a pressing question in my campaign setting. Why is it called Revania, and what does it mean? It's sort of like the name of the Doctor from Doctor Who. It's a question that nobody can quite answer, along with what causes the aligning, because nobody knows. So yeah, those are the main questions that everybody's trying to figure out. Who is the most nefarious villain in your campaign setting? The big bad guy in my campaign setting is essentially my answer to Voldemort. Nobody speaks his name, but I will because I'm the Dungeon Master and I'm badass. His name is Casrus the Brutal, and he was the sorcerer who tried to open the gates of Tor, which is my version of the Nine Hells, and unleash the Demogorgon because a voice has been whispering in his head for about 115 years to open the portal and he will get his family back. So he's got a bit of a tragic backstory, sort of like Tom Riddle as Voldemort, but yeah, he's pretty much the big epic bad guy, but he hasn't been seen for a long time because he was beaten by Astius III, who was a human emperor a long time ago, and he vanquished him before he could free the Demogorgon, and he hasn't been seen since, but everybody knows he's still out there somewhere. On the complete flip side of that, who is your world's most renowned hero? The most renowned hero in my campaign setting would have to be Lord Perseus, who is the 3-times great-grandson of Astius III, who I just mentioned, and the 6-times great-grandson of Astius the High, who was the first human emperor of Valenrain, which is the human kingdom. And by the way, Valenrain is dragon speech Valon Crane, which means honor-bound, because my humans are essentially Viking. But yes, he's the commander of the Legion in Valenrain, and he is the leader of the human army, and he is next in line for the throne, because the current emperor, who is also Balthazar Astius, he's one of the many emperors in the long line of Astiuses who have ruled Valenrain, and he's in line for the throne, but he doesn't want to take it because he just is content with being the head of the army and doesn't want that political drama. And just to clarify, the emperor doesn't hold a lot of military strength. He basically just sort of delegates that to the head of the army, which is basically what Lord Perseus is doing right now. Aha, this question, the easiest one to answer, at least for my campaign setting. What event altered your world's history? And obviously that would be the aligning. Nobody knows what caused it, but they just know that one day on the day of Cecilia's turning, which is the day that the main moon, like the central moon, there's plenty of moons around my planet, but the main one basically went from the classic white, yellowish color that the moon typically is, and turned red, like a bright, violent blood red. But yeah, every day since then, the world started, rotating in the aligning. At least that's what everybody theorizes. And every so often there'd be this mana surge, which means whenever the aligning happens, there's a giant explosion of magical energy, and it basically sort of does strange things to the world, like creates floating islands and turns oceans into mud and stuff like that. All right, on to the next one. How prevalent is magic, and where does it come from? I'd say my campaign setting is about medium magic level, but anyway, the magic comes from basically, I guess you'd call it celestial oxygen. And allow me to explain that a little bit. Basically, the aligning opens little cracks inside of the veil between the material realm and all the other realms, and it sort of leaks in celestial energy from the outer planes and creates a sort of magical atmosphere, literally. And some people can manipulate it, like wizards have to learn to manipulate it, sorcerers can naturally manipulate it, and warlocks have to get a patron's permission to manipulate it. Not everybody can cast spells, but those who can are the ones who can manipulate magical energy. How common are adventurers in your campaign setting? Did I English correctly? How common are your adventurers in your campaign setting? God, I'm gross. I don't know what the exact population of Revania is, but it's definitely got to be 1 in 10 people are adventurers. They're not super common, but at least 10% of them are, which is a lot, but it could be a lot more, like half and half. That would be like a high adventure setting, which mine is, but because there's so few people who are willing to step up and face the challenges of Valenrain. Valenrain is only one place in Revania. Revania has a lot of dangerous stuff, and nobody wants to tangle with it. All right, this next question is rather interesting. What is your world's biggest secret? Besides the fact of what the world is called in common is Revania, they don't know what that means, and that's probably the biggest secret. Also, what caused the aligning? Those two are pretty big, but other than that, who knows? Like, they're secrets for a reason. And onto the cosmological structure of my world. Everybody thinks it's the Great Wheel. That's what all the arcanists assume that it is. Basically, here's the material plane, and then all the other planes rotate around it like a clock. That's where they get the idea of the aligning. But a lot of other traditional humans think that it's more like a tree, sort of like the great tree cosmology of Norse mythology, which I think is rather interesting, and that could be true, but nobody knows except for me. Okay, and the last one for this part of the video is, what faction is most feared in your campaign setting? Currently, that's been unknown. It's probably some sort of Assassin's Guild. There's no real big Assassin's Guild like the Dark Brotherhood and Elder Scrolls, but there are a lot of tinier ones. It used to be this faction known as the Brimstone Legion, which was basically the biggest military force on the planet that would hunt down dragons and would take down giant monstrosities like Tarrasques. They never actually took down a Tarrasque because they don't really exist in my campaign setting, which is sort of weird. I'll get into that later. But basically, they would take down big threats to the world and would kick ass and take names. But one year during a mana surge, which happens every 1,000 years or so, they vanished along with an entire city during a battle with one of the dragon gods that sort of lived throughout the first Great Dragon War, which is sort of copying off of Elder Scrolls, but, to hell with it. So yeah, the Brimstone Legion was the most feared faction until one day they just vanished along with an entire city and a whole army of Dragonborn and a Dragon Overlord. So yeah, that's been 10 facts about my campaign setting. I will try to do more of these and try to motivate myself to make more videos, but who knows, we'll see what happens. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try and make more, not just about Dungeons & Dragons, but like comic books, video games, and all that jazz. But anyways, if you liked it, leave a like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And I will talk to you guys later. Just now realizing how goddamn lame I am.